Ladies, gentlemen, we are back officially. The 2025 Formula One season is here upon us. This year it's starting out down under in Melbourne, Australia. That's right, round one of the 2025 Formula One season is upon us, and we are here to make our first official predictions for the weekend leading in. I hope you'll join me and our community on this journey over the course of the year, making your predictions known, as well as if you want to get involved in the predictions game, you can join the link down below, join the Discord, and leading up to every single Grand Prix weekend this year, we'll make a call for predictions, and you can have your predictions included along the bottom of the video here, saying what your predictions are for the given Grand Prix weekend. And then at the end of the weekend, we'll add up all of our points that we gained, and we'll have a bit of a community predictions challenge over the course of the entire season. So if you're interested in joining in, head to the Discord down below and join in. But guys, this season we are primed and ready to make our predictions. We have the classics, our biggest positive surprise, our biggest disappointments, our qualifying top three, our race podium, and then we'll wrap things up as we always do with our one crazy prediction. Let's go ahead, let's get this thing underway without further ado with our biggest positive surprise. Guys, what better place to start our first prediction of the season with our biggest positive surprise? And I'm going with the Scuderia Ferrari team. I think with all of the talk of McLaren has been getting over the course of the offseason and during testing and leading up to this first Grand Prix, I think it could actually be Ferrari who really takes over the top spot and has a solid weekend. I know McLaren is going to be up for the challenge of being the hunted over the course of the entire season, but I think just the driver pairing of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton at Australia specifically, where both of them seem to do very, very well, and I think it's just going to have them leaving Australia with a bit more motivation and good vibes than people might be expecting. I think it could be a very interesting race. We've seen Charles perform very well around here. I know it was Carlos last year who ended up winning Australia, but the Ferrari, just for whatever reason, just performs pretty decently around Albert Park, and I think we could see that continue again for 2025. Let's move right along to our pick for biggest disappointment, and I hate to do this on their first Grand Prix in the seat full time, but I'm actually going with Kimi Antonelli in this one. I think we saw a lot of what Kimi is going to bring to F1 last season when he took over during the FP1 session at Monza, where we saw he was going to be incredibly quick basically from the jump, but at the same time I think we also saw how volatile he can be at the same time, where he ended up doing a lap before crashing out of FP1 at Monza. And so I think we could see in a situation, especially with the adverse weather conditions that could be popping their head up at the weekend for the Grand Prix itself. So I think we could see a very interesting weekend where we see Kimi show both the biggest upside as well as maybe his potential hesitation as well. So I hate to do this on their first Grand Prix, but there's something about the vibes of Mercedes and Kimi Antonelli that are just not speaking to me. Of course, this means he's going to finish on the podium and just put in an absolute banger, but I digress. I think that's going to be it. So I'm sorry, Kimi, but you're my pick for biggest disappointment for the 2025 Australian Grand Prix. Let's move on now to our first qualifying prediction for 2025. I love qualifying. Over the last, I think, 2 seasons, qualifying has been some of the most intense parts of the race weekend. And so I think we're going to start off 2025 with a bang. So let's go ahead. Let's kick things off with my pick for P3 in qualifying. And I'm going with the Red Bull of Max Verstappen. I think this is going to be a season of fluctuations for Red Bull, but at the same time, I can never count out Max Verstappen for much, especially if the reports are true that they have started to get a handle on the issues that they had towards the back half of the 2024 season. And so I think we could see Max begin to get back towards the front end of the grid, but definitely we know how fast he is in qualifying, and I think we're going to see that here with Max Verstappen officially starting P3 in my predictions for the Australian Grand Prix. But let's go ahead, let's move forward to the front row, the business in the sharp end of the grid in qualifying. P2, I'm going with Charles Leclerc in this one. We know how good Charles can be in qualifying, and I think you tie that in with Australia as well, another track that he performs very well at. I think we could be in for a recipe for success over the course of this season for Charles, but it all starts here this weekend down under in Australia, and I think it's going to be a very, very fun time. I cannot wait, especially if the Saturday qualifying is going to be dry going into a wet race. Oh, but we're getting there. We're getting too far. We're getting too ahead of ourselves. We're still in qualifying, and we still have our pole position to predict. And for this one, I'm going with Lando Norris of McLaren in this one. I think we're going to see a lot of fluctuations in terms of qualifying over the course of this entire first session, this first qualifying session of the year. That said, I think McLaren definitely is leading off on the best rounds from the 2024 to 2025, and so I think McLaren is going to want to start to pick up exactly where they left off, winning obviously in Abu Dhabi last season and coming to Australia now to begin this season. I have a feeling McLaren is going to want to put the best foot forward, and they're going to be focused to do so, and I think it's going to culminate with the Lando Norris pole position to really give us an opportunity to see what they're made of this year. Will he finish there? Time will tell. We're getting to that prediction next. But there it is, my top 3 for qualifying: a Max Verstappen P3, a Charles Leclerc P2, and a Lando Norris pole position. Let's transition from qualifying immediately into race podium. Let's go ahead, let's kick it off immediately with P3. I've gone for Lewis Hamilton to finish on the podium in his first race at Ferrari. We've seen first races from Lewis in the past, and he's done very, very well in them. I mean, his first race in Formula One, he finishes on the podium in Australia, to say the least. So I think the vibes could be up with Lewis, and we also know that his race pace is much better than his qualifying pace. At least it was in his last couple of years at Mercedes. So will he unlock a bit new qualifying pace in the Ferrari? Who knows? But I think at the end of the day, we know he's going to be able to unlock that race pace on the Grand Prix on Sunday. Add in the fact that it might be adverse conditions, and I think it's just going to be a perfect stew for a Lewis Hamilton podium in his first outing in Scuderia Red. Moving on now to P2 in this one, and it's going to be papaya, and I'm going with Lando Norris in this one. Now, why I think this is going to be an interesting combination of adverse weather conditions and potentially just a moment of anything could happen in the rain, and I think it's going to come down to who can really excel at Albert Park. And I know the McLaren is going to be mighty, but I think there's just another driver who performs even better around Australia than Lando does. Now, at the end of the day, McLaren could be a head and shoulders above the rest, and obviously this will be incredibly wrong, but for now, I think I'm going to take it safe. Lando Norris, P2, finishing on the podium, getting good points, but not taking the win in the maiden race in 2025. That honor goes to Charles Leclerc in my predictions as the winner of the Australian Grand Prix. That's right, I'm predicting a double Ferrari podium at the first race of the season. The copium and hopium for Ferrari is in full effect already. What do you guys think of this race podium? I'd love to hear what you guys think of my predictions. But there we have it. We have a Charles Leclerc win, a Lando Norris P2, and a Lewis Hamilton P3. Guys, one more prediction to make. Our one crazy prediction for the Australian Grand Prix. And I feel like I've said Australian Grand Prix a lot, but I'm just that excited to get this season underway. And I mentioned it before in our qualifying predictions. I think qualifying has been some of the most exciting sessions of Formula One over the last couple of seasons. We've had amazing races in there as well, but at the same time, there's nothing like seeing 20 cars going flat out on a Saturday that really brings it all together. And so I think we're going to see an absolute classic qualifying here in Australia, especially with teams doing everything they can with the potential rain on Sunday to try and put themselves as good a position as possible. And so my one crazy prediction is about the qualifying top 3, and I think that the top 3 are going to be separated by less than 1/10 after it's all said and done. I think we are going to be in for an absolute classic qualifying, and it's all going to be about who can put that lap in when it matters most, and I think it could be one of our most exciting qualifyings yet. Guys, there we have it. Our first official weekend predictions for F1 in 2025 is in. What do you think of my predictions? And let me know what your predictions are down below. And once again, if you're interested in having your predictions included in our video and as well as joining our community predictions challenge, go ahead, hit that link down below, join the Discord. We'd love to have you join our little community we're building over here. And before we head out, if you haven't already, subscribe down below. We have a lot of exciting F1 content coming both pre and post race weekend, as well as some sim racing content mixed in there as well. I can't wait to get the season started. I cannot wait to get in the Discord and chat it up with you guys during the Grand Prix weekend. I hope you are ready for the F1 season just as much as I am. And guys, that is going to wrap it up for me here in this one. And I'll see you guys in the next one.